The Ultimate Challenge. That's pretty much what this WrestleMania was. WrestleMania 6 coming to you live from the Sky Dome in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The very first ever international WrestleMania. Uh, yeah, April 1st, 1990. My birth year. 6 months and 2 days before I was born. So there you go. Yeah, WrestleMania 6 was a very entertaining WrestleMania, if not an entirely successful one. The Ultimate Challenge face versus face main event match was kind of unheard of at the time. It was the only thing that it only made things much more tense. All right, so the matches. The first match was Koko Beware versus Rick, the model Martell. The model Rick Martell. I love Martell as a heel, and I wish the WWF did more with this guy. For the 3 minutes or so of this match, it was as good as it gets. I wish it would have gone a tad bit longer, but what I got was pretty damn good. Martell wins with a Boston Crab. Ricky Martell got the win. All right. Next up, we got Demolition, Axe, and Smash, and the Colossal Connection which was Andre the Giant and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Oh, not wow. Andre the Giant and Haku, and that was for the tag team championships. And Andre the Giant and Haku were the champions. The match itself was pretty dull. I often have trouble paying attention. I mean, Andre the Giant doesn't really do much. He was pretty much it was pretty much in a way it's a 2-on-1 handicap match, which sucks because Andre the Giant is Andre the Giant, and his health was pretty much declining at this point. There is solid talent involved in here, and it's a shame that it didn't produce better. Demolition, I never know why the WWF pushed Demolition so hard down our throats back in the days. They were pretty much the WWF's answer to the Road Warriors, but in every WWF I've ever seen them in, they weren't as good. So Andre's health was poor in this match. Haku was a great wrestler, but he was never used much. So yeah, the Demolition wins the tag team championships here. Next up, Earthquake with Jimmy Hart versus Hercules. I got what I expected here. A standard, boring filler match with Earthquake doing his thing. I'm not really a fan of either, so I think it's just not that interesting. Earthquake wins with a splash, nothing too special. Now we got Brutus Beefcake versus Mr. Perfect with the Genius. Pretty big pop for Brutus Beefcake. The match was really good. Good matchup with sadly not enough time given to develop any further. Really kept my interest and remains one of my one of my favorite matches on the card. If Beefcake was not Hogan's best friend, where would he be? That's probably a good question. Perfect is fun to watch, and Beefcake did he had his moments, that's for sure. A decent match with Beefcake getting the upset in my eyes, win in the end. So yeah, Beefcake wins with a slingshot to the post, and the crowd approves that one. Um, Now we got Rowdy Piper versus Bad News Brown. This one, this one is most known for Rowdy Piper being half black, half white, half black. Nothing more than a boring brawl that really doesn't know what it wants to be. Some entertaining actors from a hot rod, but nothing else. I mean, yeah, nothing really else. This is pretty much a double count out, and the only thing, the only thing that's memorable for it is Rowdy Piper being half black and half white. Now we got the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jimmy Hart again, Jim the Anvil Neidhart against the Bolsheviks, Nikolai Volkov and Brutus Zukov. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'll just say the Hart Foundation versus the Bolsheviks. Um, let's see what. In the early years of WrestleMania, it seemed like the WWF tried to crowd as many wrestlers and matches on one card. This is one thing. That's a good thing, but most of the matches were short and ended very quickly. Exactly right here. This match, Hart Foundation wins in 19 seconds. Yeah, it's really not that special. So the Hart's win with the heart attack double team finisher. Okay, now we got the Barbarian with Bobby Heenan versus Tito Santana. Average time for what it got, but watchable nonetheless. The crowd was rather dead for it, except for Heenan's interference. Um, what was I about to say? I lost my train of thought. Um, oh yeah, that's right. I actually like Barbarian, but even though even though he was a bad guy with nothing to do but job, he put on a good match and and the end looked pretty vicious. I mean, yeah, it did. The end looked pretty vicious. Flying clothesline off the top rope. Ooh, that was pretty nasty. All right, now we got the mixed tag match. Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire, with Miss Elizabeth for some reason, against the Macho King, Randy Savage, and Miss Elizabeth. A pretty big pop for Dusty Rhodes, and an even bigger pop for Miss Elizabeth, who looks absolutely stunning, might I add. Yeah, as she always does. I thought this match was okay. It was lively, at least, if nothing that great. I'm not a huge fan of Dusty's polka dots. I was not a huge fan of polka dot Dusty Rhodes. Um, and it was the first intergender tag match in WWF history, as they said. Um, yeah, Savage deserved better than this. That's just my opinion. Savage definitely deserved better than this. All right, the Oriental Express, which was Tanaka and Sato against and Mr. Fuji against the Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, and the crowd is rather ematic for this, surprisingly. It's defense, no doubt, but with the guys involved, it should have been a lot better. The consistent focus with Fuji kind of distracts from the match. Express win by count. Orient Express wins by countout when Jannetty gets nailed with the salt from Mr. Fuji. Yeah. Now we got Dino Bravo. Yeah, Dino Bravo against the Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I Duggan Duggan looks like an idiot. He brings out the American flag in Canada, so we got some solid boos for that one. But that all ended due to Dino Bravo's heritage. It's a crappy match all around. I didn't really care for Jim Duggan, but that's not why it sucked. Um, it was too short in the end to really matter. Duggan wins when he whacks Bravo in the back with the 2x4, and Duggan gets splashed for his troubles. And yeah, Jim Duggan wins the match, America versus Canada. All right, now we got Ted DiBiase with Virgil against Jake the Snake Roberts for the $1 Million Championship. It's probably one of the only few times that the title has ever been defended. Some slow fonts, but when it's all said and done, I had a good time watching it. Two solid wrestlers giving it their all, resulting in a very entertaining matchup. The crowd noticeably gets antsy during parts of it by doing the wave. DiBiase wins by countout. Jake had the last laugh by giving away some of his money to much of the crowd's delight. So there you go. Now we got the Twin Towers collision, the colliding of the Twin Towers. The Big Boss Man versus Akeem with Slick. Pretty nice pop for the Big Boss Man, but it's too routine and too short to really mean anything in the end. Akeem was a gimmick I was never too fond of. And Bossman, the big boss man, who is really, really pretty good. All right, now we got Rhythm and Blues segment, which was very bad. Moving right along. Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan against Jimmy Superfly Snuka. For a filler match before the main event, this wasn't too bad. If it had more time to go on, it would have been excellent for sure, but um, Ravishing Rick Rude wins with the Rude Awakening. Now we get the title for title match, the Ultimate Challenge, face versus face in the main event. The Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, against the WWF Champion, Hulk Hogan. This is all about the atmosphere of the crowd and the split crowd reaction for the most part. Warrior once again got a very decent pop, but in my opinion, it was a little underwhelming. Hogan dwarfs it completely with his, because he is the immortal Hulk Hogan. It's one of WrestleMania's best matches, I will say that, with two people who aren't really known for out there for wrestling, more showmanship. They managed to create an amazing match that was talked about for the ages, and deservingly so. I've seen this match many times, and my respect level has grown higher for each one for their effort. Considering I'm not a fan of either, actually no, I take that back. I'm a fan of Hogan. I'm not that big a fan of Warrior. Even diehard fanatics who crave pure wrestling can't bitch about this one. Yeah, a lot of back and forth action. Warrior gets the pin with the splash. Yeah. So bottom line, WrestleMania 6 was a very entertaining WrestleMania. It's memorable for the main event, the location, and the crowd, but it's not. But it's up there as one of the best. It's a very solid show, I will say. Out of 10, I would rate this a 7. All right. Best match easily Hogan versus Warrior. And a worst match would probably be the Jim Duggan Dino Bravo match. All right, so that's WrestleMania 6. Coming up next, WrestleMania 7.